Hello, YouTube. This is Jay Coder back with another stream. And in this stream, we're going to be going over the introduction to CSS. And so we've pretty much wrapped up our HTML lessons for now. And we're going to be starting with CSS. If you like this kind of content, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel. Like this video. And without further ado, let's get started. Alright, so what we have here today is I have Visual Studio Code open and I have an example of CSS and a little bit of a introduction that I would like to read out to you guys about CSS. So CSS is the language we use to style a web page. CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheets. CSS describes how HTML elements are to be displayed on screen, paper, or in other media. CSS saves a lot of work. It can control the layout of multiple web pages all at once. External style sheets are stored in CSS files. Fundamentally, I want to say that fundamentally in web development, it's split up to the main foundation, which is CSS, HTML, and JavaScript. Those are pretty much the foundation of web development. You have other web developments, platforms, and techniques that are built on that, but for the basic foundation, it's HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And I would say to kind of help understand the difference between the three of them is I would say HTML is like the bones of the web page. CSS is like the skin and what that it makes that web page look better. It gives a more a better look to the web page when because with just HTML you just get the basic black and white text. CSS adds some visual appeal to the bones, so it's kind of like the skin. And then you have the JavaScript, which is like the brains of the web page, which it allows the web page to do calculations and to change dynamically with updates, things like that. Do calculations like maybe a calculator adding 1 plus 1, 2 plus 2, things like that. So, what I'm trying to say is we have CSS, which is the skin, HTML, which is the bones, and JavaScript, which is the brains. Alright, so why use CSS? CSS is used to define styles for your web pages, including the design, layout, and variations in display for different devices and screen sizes. CSS saves a lot of work. CSS definitions are normally saved in an external .css file. With an external style sheet file, you can change the look of the entire website by changing just one file. Alright, in our CSS introduction, we have the CSS code, which is in the style tag, inside the style tag. And what it was saying up here, usually a common practice is you put your CSS inside an actual file that's .css. And this is outside of the scope of the tutorial for today, But I have a styles.css here, and normally you would put your CSS here. However, today we're putting it inside the style tag, which is going to be in the same file as the .html file. And so where the HTML file starts is right here. This is the HTML code. Within the HTML code, you have the style. And within the style, that's where you start your CSS. And at the end of the style tag is where you stop your CSS. And the rest is HTML. And so, all right. So we have body here with a background color of light blue. And this kind of reads, um, you know, with programming languages, you'll have to have it exactly like this in order for it to work. Such as you can't, erase a bracket and then have it still work. It has to be, this is called the syntax, and the syntax has to be right in order for it to work. And you can't have a misspelling, which is background color, and that will not work either. So make sure you have proper syntax in your CSS, which, that could be a common problem if you have a typo or, you know, um, missing colons, things like that. All right, so we have the body, which in English is pretty self explanatory. It means assign the body. The body is here. The body is this HTML tag down here. Says assign everything in the body to the background color of light blue. And this one is saying assign all H1 tags. H1 is like a heading. Assign all H1 tags to white and center. And this one is assign all paragraph tags P to the font of Verdana with the font size of 20px. And remember, since, the P is separate from the body, this means if there is text outside of the P, it will not be this font. So in order for it to be this font, it has to be inside the P, or else it will be assigned to a different font. This is the default font. And this is, of course, text that is outside of the P. And then, after that, you have the ending tag. And now let's see what this website would look like. And I'm sure you probably already in your mind have tried to figure out how it will look like. So let's see if you're right. All right, so here is what it looks like. So we have assigned the background of the body to blue, which essentially makes the entire background of the website blue. And then the heading to white and centered. The heading, H1 heading, is here, which we can change that to any color that we want, such as we can also change it to blue violet, if we want there. And then now it is blue violet. All right. And remember, um, even though you set it here, set these here in the style tag, you'll have to call them in the HTML in order for it to display, of course. You'll have to actually use these tags in the HTML in order for it to display. And as you can see, it says this is the default, and so this is the default. So that font is different from the paragraph font, which the paragraph font is Verdana. And also you notice the font size is also different because it's out here by itself with no tag, and the body has not been set to a particular font or font family. Only the P has, so the P is formatted like this. All right, and so yeah, that was our introductory CSS example. I hope you guys learned something and continue to study CSS, and I plan to continue to release more tutorials about CSS in the future. If you like this kind of content, go ahead and subscribe to the channel and like this video. And as always, this is J Coder. Stay coding. Peace.